Hello everyone, welcome to Dice on Ice. My name is Em, and it's Tuesday, which means Curse of Strahd. Again, episode 31. I forget what I even called this episode, and I can't even, Call of Blood is what this episode is entitled. And for those of you who haven't caught the last ones or need a bit of a refresher, what happened last session was a lot. The Vixen and the rest of the team gathered around the coffin maker's shop in order to get rid of the alleged vampires that were holed up in that area, and they doused the place in fire and sought to burn it down. However, the vampires almost seem to have expected this, as they quickly began to dispatch of all of the different members of the Golden Wolf, knowing with the knowledge that they had these amulets that were able to, upon taken off, would kill these guards. So a massive fight ensued. The Vixen doing the best that she could to fend off. Surprisingly, however, she did not die from the failsafe that she had assured the others that she had on her, and she eventually changed into this creature. However, the players were able to get rid of the vampires, one of them actually being Doru, who they had encountered in the village of Barovia, and they had Doru was who they had let escape, or had escaped from them, and Doru had told them, whether he is telling the truth or not, that the village of Barovia has been utterly and completely destroyed, and everyone there is dead. Eli, after they slayed all these vampires, Eli ensured that they were really dead and not in any way coming back, by driving stakes into their hearts, and they left. The people began to, the people of Vallaki began to come and see all of what was happening, and a massive amount of chaos and madness and just anger started to well up in the group. Nobody was safe, and so the party had to run away, but Fel wanted to make sure that the children and Irina were safe with Blinksky, and as Fel was walking, she saw the Vixen being burned in the middle of the middle of Vallaki Square. Meanwhile, Korla, Jean, and Eli got out of the gate and was approached by the doppelganger Jean, who gave them a very interesting letter. And upon opening the letter, they found that it was addressed to them from Strahd. My friends, I apologize for not giving proper welcome sooner, and I hope you will forgive my rudeness as a host. I believe I may have answers that will prove fruitful in shining light on your situation. I bid you dine at my castle so we can meet in civilized fashion. I promise that your journey to my castle will be a safe one. I await your arrival. Your host, Strahd von Zorovich. And we will begin this session with Fel. You can hear the cacophony of people screaming, chanting almost, these cries of pain and sorrow and anger and fear. It permeates through your mind, through your very soul, as this is in stark contrast to the laughter, however fake it might have been and forced, to what is happening now. As you make your way invisible towards the house, you see that all the lights have been turned off. There is no the candles have been blown out in the storefront. You cannot see the dolls in display, and even the light from any candle or lantern upstairs has also been snuffed out. What would you like to do?
over that revelation, she is obviously distraught. But she sort of looks around, noticing that there are no flickering torches or candles in the windows of Lynxie's shop, and she will, still invisible, try to roll stealth, I suppose, to move quietly up towards the door and try to slip inside. So if you'd like, I will go ahead and make that.
Sure. And yeah, you can make it with advantage.
Watch that. That is a 15.
You feel as though there aren't that many people here anyway, but you see something as you kind of look around. You can see in the distance, you can see fire that was larger than the simple stake or the simple bonfire in the center of town. You see that some of the buildings now have come up in smoke. You try the door, but it is locked.
Okay. So feeling the resistance in the door, she will start to kind of move as quietly and as slowly as she can around the shop to see if there's maybe a back door of some kind. Although she was not especially wounded in the fight outside the coffin maker's shop, she feels, I imagine, drained, probably like emotionally, I guess, a little bit to a certain extent. She doesn't feel like she can access some of her more powerful spells right now. So she's going to try and find an alternative method to get inside.
You can absolutely find a back door that is also locked at this point.
Okie doke. Yeah, in that case, honestly, what she'd probably do, she'd look around, if you want to make a perception check, just to see if there's anybody around, anybody watching, or if the focus seems to be more towards the pyre where the vixen is being burned.
Yeah, absolutely. Make me a perception.
Cool. That's a natural 20 for a 20, just a 20.
So you can see that the people are all around the center of town. Most of them anyway, but you can see there are some people who are just caught up in the moment and have begun setting fire, in particular, to the Blue Water Inn.
Okay. So Fel is actually going to try something that she has not tried before, and she's had this item for a very long time. So she, I imagine she looks at the door, briefly considers just flinging a firebolt at this door so she can figure out what is going on. But I imagine there's kind of a moment where she realizes that's probably not a good idea. It's going to create noise and an explosion. So she reaches into this small kind of knapsack that she has with her, and she pulls out an old set of thieves' tools, which she actually got in the Durst household. Mm-hmm. And she actually almost begrudgingly kind of goes down onto her knees in front of the doors, picks up like the picks and the various implements, and she tries to mimic the hand motions she's seen Corla do. Not really. I mean, I imagine she gets that every lock is different, but she has literally no idea what she's doing. So she's going to try and act like Corla, try to break into this back door. So I guess there'd just be a straight dex check because she's definitely not proficient, that's for sure.
Yeah, straight dex.
Well, that's an 11.
You unfortunately are unable to pick the lock. The pick doesn't break, but you are unable to get the door open.
Gotcha. So I imagine she works at it for a few moments, and then she quietly mutters to herself, how the fuck does Carla make this look so fucking easy? Shit. And then she just puts the thieves' tools back into her bag. Are there any like rocks around?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, stones? Yep. Cool. She is going to go pick up a stone in her invisible hand and just chunk it at one of the windows on the back side of the shop, if possible, if there are any windows back here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There would be a few windows back here that you can easily just kind of smash.
Yeah, so she'll do that, and she'll sort of wait to see what happens, if anything.
You hear nothing coming from the inside of this house. All remains dark, and all remains still and quiet.
I imagine she feels this like slight, like tinge of worry. She feels kind of the concern that was building as she was traveling through these chaotic streets grow even more so. And so she'll pick up another rock, and this time she'll actually try to, if she can, like, I don't know if there's a window like near the door so that she could like break the pane and try and like reach in into the shop and actually try and unlock the door from the inside effectively. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I would say that probably even the door itself might have a small little window.
Perfect. Yeah, so she'll do that. Just kind of smashing the glass, waiting for a moment to see if there's any reaction. If there's not, she'll kind of reach in, probably wincing as the glass cuts her a little bit, and then try to kind of kajigger the lock open.
Yeah, you do so, and you're able to get that bolt aside to be able to open up the door.
Okie doke. So she would drop her trusty rock, and then she would slip inside, just looking for any sign of Blinksy or Irina or the children, probably heading upstairs because I believe that's where Corla went to talk to them originally. Blinksy was downstairs, but everyone else was upstairs.
Yeah, you see no evidence of anyone downstairs. It is very dark and probably very eerie as you just see all of these dolls, lifeless, sitting there on shelves.
Is there any sign of like footprints or like any indication that they may have gone somewhere? Anything at all?
No, there's not. Do you begin to head upstairs?
Yeah, for sure. If there's nothing on the bottom floor, she'd definitely check upstairs.
And as the door is closed, would you try to open it?
Yeah, I guess she'd probably listen for a moment just because she did just smash at least 2 panes of glass with a rock, so she's going to listen for a second.
Make me a perception check.
I will. Well, that's not nearly as good, so passive is a 10, so I'll go with a 10.
Okay. I think you would absolutely hear whispering, and then of small children, and a quick shush.
Does the shush sound like Irina's voice, or does it sound like
it's hard to tell. Person? It could be another child. It's very difficult to tell.
Fair enough. So yeah, she'll hesitate for a moment, and then she takes a breath, and she just calls out quietly, "Hello? Is anyone in there? It's Fel. Hello?"
You hear a voice. Fel, is that you?
Is that Irina?
Yeah, you would recognize that as Irina.
I imagine, even though she is invisible, Fel sags against the door a little bit in relief, and then she straightens up and says, "Yes, it's me. I think you. Well, I know that you all need to get out of here, and I was hoping to potentially help with that. Are you all safe to move? Where'd Blinksy go?"
Blinksy is here.
Great. All right. Yes. So if you all unlock the door and come with me, maybe we can try and get out of here quickly, very quickly.
Yeah, you hear the sound of moving furniture, as you would guess. Probably the door has been barricaded, and a very pale Irina with a sword at her side. You would see her in the doorway. What is going on, Fel?
Don't worry about it. It's not important. We just need to get you all out of here. Blinksy, do you have a cart of some kind or a wagon that you use to peddle your toys around the city? Something we could use to move faster because it is chaos out there, to put it lightly.
Yes. Blinksy has cart.
All right. Maybe like a blanket or something. We could put the children in the cart, and then maybe Irina as well, and then you and I could push it out, I guess. Or maybe you should push it out and I'll just follow invisibly. I'm not sure how much longer this spell is going to last, but I think that's probably our best bet to get out of here.
I have small horse. Would that help?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Let's hook that horse up to the cart and get the children in the cart and maybe put like a horse blanket or something over top of them and Irina.
Yeah, Blinksy would nod and begin to, and you would see the oldest, who Eli had spoken to before, Serena, would begin picking up the other children, the smaller ones, and instructing them on what to do. Irina starts collecting some of the blankets and everything from the children's beds, and soon you have a small group of children arranged at the door.
And I imagine for a moment, Fel just stops and stares at these people, thinking about everything that's happened and how this is absolutely the last possible place she ever thought she would find herself, being this sheltered nobleman's daughter. But she just takes a breath, focuses, and she says to Blinksy, "So you probably know this city better than anyone. Can you take us through back roads, back streets to get to the gate? I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only gate is to the south. We need to get there and we need to get out, and hopefully we can find the others wherever they went."
Yes, there is only one gate, but Blinksy know a way. You know, Blinksy angers some people. Sometimes I know, very, very hard to believe, but Blinksy
very hard to believe.
So some people don't like Blinksy or his toys, but so yes, Blinksy knows. And he would begin to rush downstairs. You hear a slight, like, my door, as he sees what you have done to the back. You hear a few words in another language that you don't understand, but you can probably guess that they are not the greatest.
Makes sense.
But he leaves to go and get the cart.
Is Irina still around?
Yeah, Irina is busy picking up children and trying to get them ready.
Okay, so I guess once all the children are loaded up and sort of covered, we're preparing to leave, Fel would just take her aside for a moment and say, "So there were vampires in the coffin maker's shop, which we fought. I don't know if that means, I imagine it means that," and she'll lower her voice, "Strahd is on his way here. So like I said, I think it might be best if you got into the cart with the children. You can protect them and also hide yourself from the general public, so to speak. I imagine this is not pleasant, but the sooner we get out of here, the better."
Irina nods, and perhaps maybe the most unsettling thing to you is that when you tell her this, she doesn't really seem shocked, or even that frightened by it. She just nods. "Thank you for coming back, Fel. We had no idea what was going on."
Yeah, it's not great. I'll just leave it at that. Out of curiosity, does she look any different? Just out of curiosity, just kind of, Fel is invisibly giving her the once over just to make sure there's nothing weird, like dull joints or whatever.
No dull joints. She looks very pale, but you don't know whether that's because of fear or the darkness or anything like that.
Gotcha. I imagine a tan is rather hard to get here in Barovia.
Yes, but in particular, she looks particularly pale.
Gotcha. So Fel will sort of pause for a moment and then just say, "Right. Well, I'm sure Corla and the others would have done the same. It's just things got a little chaotic. It's not your fault. So anyway, let's go." And then she will kind of help Irina get into the cart, and then she will, for as long as she can, she will invisibly follow Blinksy as he pushes the cart, or as the horse takes the cart. And then once her spell fades off, she will just sort of shadow the cart, I guess, because she has no more spell slots to cast invisibility with at this point.
Yeah, your invisibility lasts for an hour, correct? Okay. So you see Blinksy's cart, and you see his horse, quote unquote, which is more of a very small donkey. But he begins the trudge once all the children and Irina are in. It is an insanely tight fit, but you do get everyone in. They all get covered with blankets, and they begin walking. Fel, you see that this situation is quickly becoming horrifying as more and more houses have burned ablaze. It seems as though they had only intended to do the Blue Water Inn, but now, surprisingly, the rain, this blood rain, is gone, leaving everything surprisingly dry. And as you can see, the fires have begun to spread closer than you would have liked. And the people are still just in a frenzy. I'm going to have Blinksy and the children make a stealth check with advantage. Okay, perfect. So they are able to pass through the town unnoticed in this chaos. And soon they are at the door. Or at the gate, sorry.
Cool. So again, assuming there is nobody really paying attention or looking at the cart strangely, Fel would follow Blinksy and the horse-drawn cart out of the city and try to find the others. I guess she would go to the place where she saw them after she originally came out of Valaki with the Sun Sword before realizing, oh crap, we left Arena and the kids behind. So she would kind of go back to that general vicinity.
So we'll turn back to, while all this is happening, what are Corla, Jean, and Eli doing?
That's a great question.
We're watching her back and nothing. No, I think at this point, like, Corla would have shown the letter to the others. I don't know if Jean is still unconscious or not, but she definitely would show Eli, maybe even given it to him to deal with at this point, because she's going back to Jean to make sure that she is okay.
Jean is trying to get things together. Not comatose, but definitely looking worse for wear. Still a bit dazed, but almost very lost in her own thoughts.
What are you, Jean?
I don't know.
What happened?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You make Phil nervous now.
It's not like I chose for this to happen.
I know. But you know how she is. She is hot-headed. When she doesn't understand something, she just wants to beat it up, or in her case, make it on fire. And now she wants to make you on fire.
Jean looks down at her hands, wondering really if her being set on fire is the best course of action. And she looks up to you. I remember things now that I hadn't remembered before.
What?
They feel distant, like a dream, but the more I cling to them, the clearer they get. I remember the deep, misty forest, the fog battling at my senses. It was Flint and I, just the two of us. We had stayed in Barovia after leaving the death house. We tried everything. We were sold this potion by these wandering merchants that would let us pass through the mists unabated. It did not work. We tried talking with people in the town. They knew nothing. But I remember one of our attempts. We thought perhaps if we stick during the daylight hours, we could cut through to the forest and make it through. And so we had set out to the woods. I remember that. I remember the creaking of the branches, the shadow and the gloom cast by the canopies. And I remember it turning to dusk way too soon. Hours earlier than it should have been. The howls of the wolves. It's like a nightmare. I'm trying to piece together what I can remember of that memory. It feels like water slipping through my fingers.
And this, and she would point to that big hole in your chest. This happened at the same time? This trek, or?
I can't say for certain. But I remember being stabbed. Gutted. Impaled, even. A great sword made of dark iron. I remember choking on my own blood. I remember not being able to breathe. I remember the warmth of my armor, the fabric beneath being soaked. I remember the light leaving my own eyes. I don't remember anything else about it, though.
And these things you do that you can do. You do not eat. How do you stay alive? How do you live? How are you?
I thought perhaps it was the curse of this place, this land, the things it does to people. I thought perhaps that it was doing the same to me. But I fear not everyone has a hole in their chest. I barely have theories at this point of what's going on. It's hard to think with such a headache.
Here. That she would kind of pull open she's got that tiny little mini cask of wine. She would give you pour some in a mug and pass it to you. Maybe this help.
She would sniff it, try to drink it, and spit it out. Does this taste rancid to you? And like gives the mug a sniff.
Carla would try it. Oh, this is good.
I can't keep it. Let me try it again.
She'd hand it back.
And likewise, just will not be able to drink it. Like, I can't. It tastes foul in my mouth. You sure it's
wine? Never mind. I will drink it. And she will drink it and put the cask back. So you are not hungry? I've not seen you eat anything since we came back. I just assume you did it in your privacy, but do you eat?
Sparingly. I do. I eat. Though not as often as I did before this place. I don't find myself hungering for it. It's almost just habit alone.
I'm worried Sean. I'm worried that Phil will not see past our anger to listen to your story.
And Jean just kind of stares into the distance a bit, hearing that. Her skin is pale and stretched thin over her face. I don't know what to say to her. What I could say to her.
No more lies. Let's start there. Is there something I can do for you now? You look hurt.
I need rest. Just need to close my eyes. I just need to get some sleep, I think.
Okay. I agree. And at this point, she'll kind of leave you be, and she's looking around to see what Eli is up to, where he is.
Eli's probably about 10 feet away. Maybe leaning against a wall or standing. I don't remember exactly where we are, but and I've just got a kind of standing with my back to you a little bit, and I've got a mirror out. I'm just trying to see the wounds that I have, where I got bit. And I imagine there's a moment where if you're looking at me, our eyes meet in the mirror. And I would put the mirror down and turn towards you. Phil's gonna have to Phil's gonna have to get used to the fact that this place is causing revelations amongst all of us. There's in the heat after that battle, all of Phil's attention was directed towards you, Jean. And the apparent similarity between you and what we've been dealing with. And I'll give her that. There's a strong similarity there. But I haven't seen you do anything to show that you're not otherwise with us. For now, that's good enough for me. What Phil failed to recognize, I don't know if anybody noticed it. I barely registered it myself. But in that fight, I myself had new things happen. I don't know if anybody noticed that giant beam of light that shot out of me instead of a bullet into one of them creatures. And I look at Sean and I glance at Sean's wounds and this obvious hole. Just because you can't see it outwardly, there's definitely something different in myself. And I hold my hand out to the side and I say this word that happened in the middle of this battle. And I just sort of aim it out towards nothing. And there's just this quick pulse of radiant energy as I cast the cantrip Word of Radiance. I couldn't do that before.
This land seems it is changing us all. For better or for worse. Time will tell.
Fel herself manifested her power in a way we hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And she was pretty angry when I tried to confront her about that. And she probably wouldn't like it if I said this, but quite frankly, I think she's a bit naive. She hasn't experienced the world as much as some. And I think she's still clinging to some of those last shreds of innocence. I can't fault her for that, but I fear that this world is going to strip away those last shreds of innocence. In the meantime, I think you're right, Sean. Well, we all could do with a rest. And I kind of imagine as I'm saying this, based on what you said before, glancing back, that areas of this town are on fire, and we're sort of just standing there talking, and maybe this isn't the best place to do that.
Get some hours between us in this place first.
Well, seems we got a destination already picked out for us. And I sort of hold the letter up that Corla handed me.
Yeah, and if we are to believe it, we will be safe. Right, okay. So, meaning we can go wherever and nobody harm us? Is that what he's saying? And we believe this?
I think we can only believe only so far. There's if we go into this not trusting them, I think we'll be the wiser for it. I'm suggesting we get some rest, heal up, and recuperate a bit before we take him up on his offer. If we go in there now, he could just pick us off, no problem, if he chose. Not entirely sure he couldn't, even if we're at full strength. But we're going to need to figure out where in the Nine Hells Fell is and where we're going to meet up with her.
I think just as you say that, you hear the braying of a donkey as you guys are kind of as you guys are kind of gate adjacent, if I remember correctly. Like you're at the wall but on the other side. So you see a cart, and you would recognize Blinksky, who is leading this cart. And I would not think that he would see you at first, but Fel following behind would probably see you, that you've kind of haven't really moved from where she had left.
Yeah, so I think seeing that, again, that feeling of hesitation and uncertainty, something she hasn't really felt too much with this group, sort of fills Fel for a moment. But then she grits her teeth and she says to Blinksy, just hold on here for a moment, and I'll bring you to them in just a second. All right, there's something I need to do first.
Yeah, Blinksky would nod.
All right, just keep an eye out. All right, stick to the trees, I suppose. And then Fel is going to approach this little gathering, and then I imagine she is going to wait until she is standing right beside Jean invisibly, and she is going to dispel the invisibility. So
You startle Jean. She kind of like, if she had any more energy, she would have reacted a bit less catatonically.
And Fel actually looks down at you, Jean, and these pale green eyes meet your own for a moment. And almost as if she's completely ignoring that Corla and Eli are present, she says, I'm only going to say this to you once. and I don't plan to repeat myself, so please pay attention. I am done trusting you, Jean du Valet. You have kept things from us, things that are relevant to our situation. I don't think, and her eyes will flick to you, Eli, I don't think the land is at fault for that. The land did not compel you to lie to us. And then her gaze returns back to you. I will, however, I will stand beside you. I will fight beside you, because that apparently is the price that I have to pay to stay with these two. And she lifts her gaze to you, Corla, and then moves it slowly over to you, Eli. But I do not trust you. And if I catch so much as a hint that you are keeping something else that is important, like the fact that you are a vampire and have some kind of connection to Strahd, who is also a vampire, or if you try to betray us or hurt any of us, they are not going to stop me next time. Do you understand?
And she looks up at you, as if her head weighs 100 pounds. It's an effort to do so. And she'll give the smallest semblance of a nod. Something so minuscule that maybe you don't even notice it.
Good. And she looks up to you, Eli, and then to you, Corla. I was able to retrieve Arena, the children, and Blinksy, as well as the weapon that we came to Vallaki for in the first place. I'm going to go get them. And then she'll leave and she'll head back to where Blinksy is and sort of guide them over to where the group has congregated. I'm not really saying anything else to anybody.
Yeah, Blinksy just totally unknowing of what had just happened before, just happily waves to the rest of you. Friends, it is so good to see you again, yes?
Yeah. Sure thing there, Blinksy.
We should probably move a little way from the city. Quickly.
Well, we definitely need to move. We need to figure out what's going to be the safest place for us to lie low for a little bit, and I think we need to send them somewhere that we're not.
And Fel will look to Blinksy. Is there, I mean, we know there's the village of Barovia, but that's too close to Strahd's castle. Is there?
Cannot send them there.
No. Is there another city or a town, Blinksy, that you're aware of? And she'll lift the blanket, be like, Arena, is there another city or a town that you're aware of? I guess you could come out, just stay hidden in the trees.
Yeah, Irina would climb out and shake her head. We were only told of Vallaki as a haven. And Blinksy just... I do know of one place, the village of Kresk. They aren't the kindest to strangers, though. But maybe that is just Blinksy.
What else is new?
They would not even buy Blinksy's toys.
Is this place far, Blinksy? This village?
Oh, it is about a week.
I have a crazy idea. You know those women we just met?
In Brest?
Yes.
I
am not liking them very much, but they did seem to be the kind I would think that would take care of children and women.
Well, so the thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was only women and little girls. I don't think, and I imagine there's some boys in this group, correct, Em?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a mix.
There are boys here as well. I don't think they would take them. I didn't see a single male man in that entire settlement. There is another option apart from Kresk if we don't want to go that far, and it was actually something that we saw on the way to Berez. There was that large castle of white brick. I don't, Blinksy, do you know, or maybe Arena, do either of you know if someone lives there? I mean, I imagine so, but
Irina pauses for a moment and... You mean Argenvostholt? Oh, there's... I mean, we were told horror stories, and if you're a child living in Barovia, it takes quite a bit to scare you, but that place is... There's a lot of death there. But I have never been there. I've never seen it.
honestly, it sounds like Kresk may be our best option. Yes, it is a far walk, but I don't think we have another choice at this point.
There is also an abbey there, which would be good. I think they would take the children.
In Kresk?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Blinsky's seen it. It is very, very large.
Well,
Much larger than here.
that sounds like a good place for children. Safe, at least.
Right.
Safe-ish.
Can
The real question is it safe for you and you, Blinksy, and you, Irina, to travel the road for a week to Kresk with these children?
Blinksy shakes his head. But there are Vistani people who are camping. You might have seen them just beyond there. Perhaps they could accompany us.
You know, Luvash owes us a favor for helping his daughter Arabelle. Maybe he could escort us to Kresk, though I am hesitant to trust the Vistani. It sounds like traveling in large numbers is going to be better than a week alone on the road.
They will at least be safer with them. I agree.
Hopefully.
How far away are the Vistani? That might be a good place for us to lie low for a little bit, get a rest in. And
Yeah, it's only a few. It's only a few hours from where you are.
Sean, you think you can travel?
She looks up at you with like bloodshot eyes and like barely gives you an answer.
Blinksy, how much weight can your ass bear? I don't know what's worse, the phrasing of that question or the fact that all I heard come out of my mouth was ass bear.
That would be terrifying. Scarier than wolves. Blinksky, he looks. There are quite a few children. I don't. Hector has not carried any more than toys, so I don't know.
I'm gonna head over to the cart, the wagon, whatever. How many children are in this thing?
There are probably about a dozen children, all like as a sardine can, full in this cart.
How many teenagers are there?
There's only two, Serena, and then there is a boy as well.
All right, I'm gonna point at the two of them. You two, run out. I need you to walk for a little bit, and I'll help them out, and then see about getting Sean in there. Now they're all lying crammed in this thing. Where they're not still hiding under a blanket, are they?
Yes, they were.
I mean, at this point we're
They're committed.
at this point we're outside the city, and anybody that tries to come after them is going to have to go through us anyway. So
It might not be a bad idea to not advertise the fact that we have children here, especially considering what we have seen in the past.
All right. Well, I'm going to just kind of take a moment to rearrange the kids, maybe see if they can find a little more comfort in a way that maybe not necessarily hidden under the blanket, but that Sean can get into the wagon, at least sitting up a bit so she doesn't have to walk.
I feel like definitely Jean would be able to sit kind of on the edge. She might have to have, though, one child in her lap to be able to sit comfortably.
I can see that almost like leaning with her back against one of the stake sides of the wagon, maybe a leg dangling off the back, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine Fel looks kind of visibly uncomfortable when a child is put in John's lap, but she doesn't say anything. She's just keeping a very sharp eye in that particular direction.
And I will instruct the two older children to assist Blinksy in tending to the donkey and keeping it on trail. And as we prepare to move, I'm gonna keep an eye on the backside of the wagon. Okay. I'll stay at the rear of the wagon to keep a lookout from that vantage point.
Absolutely. And so you begin your trek, and it does not take long. It takes, in fact, it takes quite a while for the light to fully die down or become obscured by the forest because you just see the village of Vallaki is burning. And it doesn't take long before the chanting, the screaming, the crying, the rage, and the flames begin to die out, and the sounds of the forest begin to set in. You begin to hear the creaking of trees, the groaning of branches, and the howling of wolves. About an hour of walking. The children, the two who are walking, seem absolutely exhausted. As you hear the howling, Corla, you see figures in the tree line. The figures of wolves.
What color are eyes?
You cannot tell in this light. It is so dark. But these wolves are indeed dark in color.
I think I look back behind me to where Eli is walking and try to get his attention without kind of alerting everyone else, and have him just kind of gesture towards where these wolves are so that he's aware of them as well.
Absolutely. And if, Eli, you look to your other side from where Corla had said, you can see a few more come out.
I would just give a slight nod to Corla, and I would also just kind of go give her a visual sign, sort of like pointing off to the other side that there's more. And you'll hear a soft shifting of leather and a clasp being undone as I loosen Righteous Indignation in my holster, just easing it out a little bit with my hand on the butt, around the grip, just in case.
Yeah, you see slowly as these wolves begin circling in around you, and they get closer and closer, and you can see their snarling mouths and teeth as they they close in on this cart.
This does not look like protecting. I'm getting feeling not.
Everybody look alive. Blinksy, bring it to a stop.
What color are their eyes, Megan? Or M?
They flash bright yellow in the light.
Remind me. So the Strahd wolves had red eyes. Is that correct, or do they have yellow eyes?
They so
I think the Vixen or Elwyn mentioned it. Somebody did.
The Vixen mentioned that the green eyes was mostly the sign of a shifted wolf.
Okay.
If I did say red, then these wolves' eyes are red.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I legitimately don't remember.
I have written down eyes of Strahd's wolves are always yellow.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Done.
Yep.
Oh, so these are the bad kind of wolf.
So these are his, and we are supposed to be safe on road.
Question: how long have we been traveling?
About an hour and a bit.
Would that be long enough for Sean to have benefited from a short rest while in the back of the wagon?
Absolutely. Yep. You find, though, that these wolves, they are not attacking you, but they are definitely closing in and almost impeding your way forward.
Listen, wolvesies, we are trying to take peoples to safety. That's what we are doing here. Let us go. This will be faster if you let us go.
They begin snapping and snarling there. You can see the foam drip from their muzzles.
I don't think they like talking.
How many?
wolves
I was
are
just
there?
gonna say, how many are there?
You count 6 wolves.
And they're surrounding us.
Yes. But not behind you. They're it's more of like a U shape.
I have an idea. Sean, how are you doing? You think you can walk?
I can walk.
And I'll help Sean out of the cart. I'll call to the 2 children, two teenagers, to get back up in the wagon. Corla, Phil, Sean, hold still. Blinksy, start moving forward very slowly with the cart.
Blinksy just is like looking at you incredulously, just towards the wolves. Wait.
Just a step at a time.
I imagine Fel reaches into her bag, pulls out one of the bottles of red wine that she got from the Blue Water, and just kind of hands it over to Blinksy. Just keep going forward, Blinksy.
But
Just drink and go forward, Blinksy.
Blinksy, his eyes wide with fear, but he begins to move forward, one slow step at a time. He is getting closer to the wolves.
Are they moving at all?
Not at first. They're kind of far enough away that it allows Blinksy, the cart to go forward a bit more and a bit more. But as they get closer, you do see the wolves give way to the cart.
So
This is what I was thinking.
we cannot go with them.
All right, Blinksy, Irina, you're gonna have to go on without us.
Irina just, what do you mean? What's happening?
Well,
We could take these wolves.
no. Something tells me these wolves wouldn't be the only wolves. We got to deal with something, and unfortunately, it's going to be more dangerous if we go with you. I have a question.
Hmm.
This is going to be a DM judgment by you.
Mhm.
Because I can't see in the rules where it specifies. I have a robe of useful items.
Uh-huh.
When I pull a patch, it creates an object, and that object has permanence.
Uh-huh.
It does not say that it gets dispelled or anything. I've used it to conjure something made of something really expensive. I can't remember what. Oh, a silver coffer worth 500 gold pieces. It's what I made all the silver out of. The reason I'm asking is I have the ability to pull a patch that will summon 2 mastiffs.
Mm-hmm.
Can I summon them and command them to guard Irina and Blinksy?
I would say yes. Yep.
So, as they're walking away, I'm going to do this real quick. Almost, you'll just see this. I just suddenly go, oh, ooh, ooh. And I look like I'm rummaging through my pockets. And I go to the lining of this leather jacket where I had sort of sewn in this robe. And I'm looking at these patches. Oh, there it is. And you just hear this sort of sound of ripping fabric as I pull the patch off. And I toss it to the ground in front of me, and there's this this moment where it looks like the patch is unraveling, and more thread than you would expect just starts to, and it forms these two mastiffs that take form. And I imagine being a dwarf, I don't even have to crouch down to look them in the face. Being mastiffs, I just sort of immediately sort of put my hands firmly on each of their necks. You're going to go with them. And I motion towards the wagon. Irina and Blinksy. And those children are under your protection. Now go. Yeah. And I imagine them just for a moment pausing and then just kicking up dirt as they take off and calling after Blinksy and Irina. These dogs are charged with your protection. They will keep you safe.
Thank you, Irina calls. We'll find the Vistani and hopefully we run into you again. Stay safe.
You as well. May the light of the Morning Lord go with you, and the protection of Shantae as well.
And they nod and they disappear into the night, and you are left with the snarling wolves.
Is there something that we need to, something else that we need to talk about?
Did we forget to talk to Fel?
You
Yeah.
did.
Mel has
You
no
did.
idea.
What the fuck is going on right now?
All right, so yeah, this doesn't qualify as a secret kept. Sort of in the moment of keeping the children and them protected, honestly, I was hoping to be able to get to the Vistani camp and talk to you there about it. But we got an invitation, and I imagine handing the letter over to Fel.
She takes it,
And
reads it.
it's-
Go ahead.
And it seems like we cannot say no. As Corla would kind of indicate the wolves.
Yeah, looks up to Corla, looks back to the letter, reads it again. I mean, there are only 6 of them. We could rest. We need rest anyway. By a little more time, we still have, and she'll lower her voice, kind of glancing superstitiously at the wolves as she hands the letter back. There's still one item that, or part of this Taroka reading that we have not completed, so to speak. There's a place with a chandelier and walls of bone. We haven't figured that one out yet.
Well, based on this incident right here, if it's not to Strahd's, I have a feeling we're not going to be allowed to go anywhere.
Well, at the very least, we should find a place to rest. If that means we have to head back the way we came, I'm sure as long as we do that, they'll leave us alone. Hopefully.
Or here.
I mean, you want to just sleep on the road? I mean,
Well, we could go over there.
Yeah, let's
mean,
go over there.
If Strahd's being true to what he says, we might just have ourselves some guardians.
Hooray.
Yeah.
But yes, I think we should rest. Take advantage of these, and she'll look to you, Eli, guardians. And she'll turn and she'll start walking back the way that we came from.
Yeah, you do so, and the wolves begin to follow, but they keep their distance. They flank you and they're behind you, but they keep their distance from you.
Where exactly are we walking to? I thought we were going to stay here.
I don't want to sleep on the road. If we could go to like a forested place, like a clearing or a thicket, that would be preferable. Especially if people start streaming out of Valaki, their blood is up. She actually pauses, realizing she didn't mention this, and she looks back, actually to you, Corla. They burned the Vixen alive, so we should go somewhere that is not too close, but not too far, I suppose.
Well, we're an hour outside of Valaki already.
Mm-hmm.
Let's can I look at our surroundings and see if I can figure out which would be the best way to go into off the road, maybe towards woods? I don't know if we're surrounded by trees or...
Yeah, you are, at the moment, you are surrounded by trees. You know that not far off there is the lake.
Let's go to the lake. You know, we could make a day of it. Why not? You know, or a night of it. She looks up at the sky.
Well, one nice thing about going near the lake is that's one direction we shouldn't have to worry too much about. And I would suggest that we move through in that direction, through the woods, sort of picking a path, but I want to get off to Fell's Point. I want to get far off the road so we can't even risk being seen. I would say either going all the way to the lake or at the very least moving another half hour to an hour away from the road.
Yeah, you would know that with that half an hour to hour, you would be able to get to the lake.
All right.
You're able to get there. You're flanked and followed by these wolves who howl and yip and bark. But eventually you get to the edge of the lake.
Yeah, I imagine Fell goes off a little bit from the others. She starts like washing the blood off of her face and hands from the blood rain, probably taking off the hooded cloak she was wearing, trying to get some of the stains out. Probably being unusually quiet, but just sort of cleaning herself to the best of her abilities. Maybe pulling out some rations and whatever booze she has left, taking a sip every now and then.
I think after a moment, Corla would actually go near where Fel is and be doing the same thing, getting cleaned up from the battle. We need to talk. Phil.
Sure.
I know we'll never see eye to this thing, but Jeanne is not what you think she is. She does not know what is going on. She wants answers just like you.
I know that she pauses. I imagine she was like cleaning some blood off of her boots, and she stops and she sets the boots aside for a moment. I know that what happened with the tapestry and Perez and everything was fairly recent. And trust me, this is not some ploy to try and get pity from you, Corla. But I don't have too many people that come up to me and just sort of offer friendship on the silver platter, kind of like you did. And again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have. It was very surprising. That's why I pretty much just said thank you a bunch of times, because I didn't really know how to respond. I don't want you to ever. She looks out over the lake for a moment, which I love. This very scenic place to have this conversation, any conversation. I don't want you to ever think or say again that you only have Jeanne, because while I may, she glances over you, I may be a little worried sometimes about how bloodthirsty you get. I mean, you pounced on Baron Valakovich like a mountain cat attacking a mountain goat. It was kind of frightening, but anyway.
He deserved it.
I mean, yes, sure, he did. But I don't want you to think that you can't rely on me or Eli for help when you need it. This idea that you have to settle for someone that has abandoned you in the past, that has lied to you by lies of omission, it's gross, Corla. Honestly, it's gross. I don't know how. I mean, I said it before. I don't know how you can stand to be in the same room as her. I'm not even talking about the vampire thing. I'm talking about the fact that she has withheld so much from you, and you clearly care about her a lot. And I would think of anyone, she would have talked to you about this.
There is things she does not even understand herself. She is not even knowing these things. They're just starting to come to her mind now. I asked her about them when you flew off handle and went who knows where. I guess we know where now, but thank you for that, by the way. Mm-hmm. But we have a big past with us. And yes, she betrayed me, and I have a hard time forgiving for that. But
do you? I mean, it seems like you don't, honestly.
One mistake in lifetime. You were not there when she was there for me and helping me through all the things when I was a child. And you cannot erase that with just one bad deed. She will pay for it. It will come. But that does not mean I no longer care for her. We will work it out. But now is not time. We must get out of this place. We must get home first.
That's my concern, though. She has some kind of odd connection with Strahd, who is also a vampire. Who is to say that at that crucial moment where, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. Well, I think Eli and Jeanne mentioned there was a portal and Gleowin's face popped out, which is very disturbing. There could be that crucial moment where we have the chance to get out, and then Strahd does something, and Jeanne can't control it. It would have been so much better if we had known this sooner. It would have been awkward no matter what, but at least this way we could have prepared for it. Now, I don't know about you, and she kind of gestures back to where the wolves are. This feels like we are approaching an ending of some kind, for good or for ill. And now we have this liability amongst us, Corla. It could keep us from getting home. It could keep you from getting home. I don't want that for you.
In my life, it has been my experience that when you have a potential threat, it is much better to keep that threat close to you where you can keep eye on it than let it go and do its evil without you. She is here. We do not know if this is evil inside. She is fighting whatever it is. She was there for us. She killed those things, just like you, just like Eli. For now, she is with us. And that is good enough for me right now.
And Fel sits on the banks of this lake, and she looks at you for a moment, and then shakes her head, and she says, "You know, you actually sounded a lot like my father there for a few moments, that was interesting. Listen, I understand that you have this deep connection with her, and I know someone that you've known for however long we've been here is not going to be able to change that, especially if you've known her since childhood, which is, how old are you? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but how old are you?"
Well, I don't know.
You don't know?
We don't have birthdays. We just were.
Elves don't have birthdays? That's sad.
I was on street for a long time. I don't know. It's been many decades, though.
Gotcha. So, and again, don't mistake me. I know that you and Eli and even Jean have a lot more life experience than I do, even if you don't know how old you are. But there is something else that my father once told me, Corla, and it is something that I think you should bear in mind. When someone stabs you in the back, you don't shrug, smile, and turn around so they can stab you in the front.
No, you write their name in book and deal with them later when it suits you.
Do you have a book of people that you want to deal with?
Yes.
Intense. And she smiles a little, and then she picks up her boots and starts washing the blood off again. She says, "I just want you to be careful, and I want you to understand that you are not alone here. You don't have to rely on someone that abandoned you in the past. I understand what you're saying, and I understand you have this deep connection with her, but just be careful. You know, I know it's probably very hard to believe. I don't have a whole lot of friends, Corla, so, you know." Anyway, and she goes back to cleaning her boots.
Yeah, and Corla would finish cleaning, and then as she turns to go, she turns back. Oh. And she kind of rummages in her pack, and she pulls out this little toy carved dog. "This is for you. I meant to give it the other night, but you did not come back to your room. So, here,
Yeah, you know,
take it now."
Thank you.
And it's and it remarkably looks a lot like the type of dog that Lancelot is.
And she takes it and she smiles, and then she blinks for a moment and says, "Wait a minute, I asked you before where Lancelot was, and you didn't." I'm assuming he ran off. He's not. Did Irina say that he died or something? I mean, thank you for this. Sorry, I don't mean to ruin the moment, but
I do not know.
Oh.
He is not here. I assume worse.
I mean, he survived in the Durst house for however long, so maybe he got lucky. But and she looks down at the carving, kind of running her fingers over the carved fur. "Thank you, Corla."
And she just kind of nods, gives you that kind of nod as she's turning to leave.
Yeah. Fel will tuck the dog away and continue washing the blood off her clothes.
Eli, what are you doing during all of this?
In order to give Corla and Fel their privacy, I would have let them go where they were going down to the lake. I probably would have set up a small fire, maybe positioned in a way that has the least amount of visibility. But set up a small fire, and then I would have gone down to the lake about 100 yards or so away from the others and stripped down butt naked and gotten in the water to scrub myself, because I imagine I've got blood all over me too.
Everyone,
We were all in a blood rain. So.
everyone is just caked in this dried blood, and I must admit, the lake feels incredible. Very, very cool against your skin, and you're able to just take those few moments. However, as you find that your peace never lasts long, as you hear another kind of bark or a howl from a wolf that you know is not too far and is most likely ensuring that you don't try to escape or run.
Do you think at some point Fel would probably meander over to either the fire or wherever Eli is at and just sort of sit down, maybe when the barking starts? Annoying, aren't they?
Well, might have to put up with them for a little bit. I imagine I'm sitting on either a log or a rock or something near the fire. I've got my clothes that I would have cleaned a bit sort of laid out where they can dry. And I'm sitting there in just my trousers and an undershirt. My feet, my big old hairy dwarf feet are out in the open, sort of warming by the fire as my socks and boots are laid out, and just sort of relaxing for a minute. Yeah, I mean, it seems they're. Well, it seems like they're babysitting us, to be perfectly honest.
Mm. Well, if nothing else, it seems like we'll have an honor guard as we make our merry way towards Castle Ravenloft.
Eli, you notice, sort of a couple times does that thing where he's like,
Don't do
he's
that.
going to say something and then he doesn't.
Say what's on your mind. You always do.
Well, despite what you may think, it ain't so much. Well, I was kind of looking for just somebody to talk to about something.
Let me guess. It's about the light show that you put on during the coffin maker fight, or the fight outside the coffin maker shop. That was unexpected.
So you did notice.
I did. I noticed a lot of things, Eli. She smiles and looks back out towards the lake.
That was unexpected. The light, magic, I guess.
I believe so.
But it seems different than the kind of stuff that you do.
Oh, yes.
I felt something that I haven't felt in going on 3 years. But as if it were somehow magnified, amplified. And it's been since it's been since I left the church back in Greenest. I left behind my devotion to Shantea. But even then, I never could do anything like this. I just knew that I had her blessing when I said prayers over the crops, and prayed for a bountiful harvest, and tended to the sick, and the things that a priest does. But this is ooh, did you see that lightning?
I did. Always stormy in Barovia.
It's like a storm that never quite approaches. But yeah, I just in the heat of that fight, I just felt as if Shantea was there with me. And I sort of directed that energy. And the weirdest thing about the whole thing is that it doesn't feel weird. For the first time in nearly 3 years, it feels right.
I mean, I've read a lot of lore and scrolls and whatnot that different theories about magic. Effectively, some say that certain types of magic comes from making deals with entities. Others claim that magic is inherent to bloodlines, more primal, I suppose. And then there are those that believe that magic is a gift from the gods. Either you swear an oath or you somehow are chosen or blessed in some way. I've actually been thinking a bit about my own abilities and the fact that it is so dark and shadowy, and it almost seems more emotion based. And I haven't made any pacts with anything. I imagine you haven't either, which leads me to believe mine might be some kind of sorcery potentially. I mean, there's a whole half of my heritage that I have no idea what it is like or anything. Maybe yours is more divine in nature. You find your faith and you found the ability to shoot beams of light out of righteous indignation without any bullets.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be it.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of glance over at you. Yeah, imagine you having magic powered by emotion. And I just sort of do that thing where I slightly lean in and just bump my shoulder against yours in that playful way, just like, yeah.
And she smiles. Are you all right with these gifts? I mean, you said it felt more right than it had in a while, which I imagine is good. There's not a whole lot of right things about this place, to be totally honest.
When I was a priest at the temple in Greenest, in addition to all the other things I talked about, one of my duties was to help people who had, well, to help people with forgiveness, forgiving themselves, forgiving their neighbor. People get into squabbles, and not everything had to go to the local constable. I could handle minor disputes and things like that, and people would often turn to me for guidance
and river metaphors, I imagine.
Yeah, well, they were mostly grain based at that time. People understood the harvest and farming, and
right.
But a lot of what was involved in that was forgiveness, teaching people how to forgive each other and forgive themselves. And I had turned my back on all that, turned my back on Shantea and all but renounced her and everything she stood for until I met you and the others. And ever since then, things have been changing, things I never expected. And I feel like maybe, just maybe, Shantea has forgiven me for turning my back on her.
Oh, I thought
And
this
maybe,
was your way of, talking about forgiving Jean. Anyway, continue.
maybe she's waiting for me to forgive myself. No, I mean, as far as Jean is concerned and you, that's something you're going to have to make peace with, Phil. I can't make you trust Sean. I can't change the way you feel about her. I know that I've told Sean that until she shows any reason why we shouldn't trust her, I'm going to trust her. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's fought by our side. She's fought with us. And nearly died fighting with us. So I'm all right with her. That's a piece you're going to have to make.
And Fel actually kind of sits up. I imagine she was kind of leaning against the log that you were sitting on, and she turns to you, Eli, and she says, looking you in the eyes, do you trust me?
I would have to say that of everybody here, you're probably the one that I trust the most.
I imagine for a moment as you were sort of formulating your answer, Eli, you would see this almost this unexpected tension, but then as you finish saying what you said, it kind of leaks out of her, and she just looks at you for a moment, this almost confused expression on her face, and she says, because of my questionable parentage, I have spent a lot of time perfecting the art of not giving a shit about what people think about me. I will be honest, even if Carla had started screaming and throwing things at me instead of being as generous and as kind, I suppose, as she was, it would not keep me awake at night. It would be sad, but it would not keep me awake at night. Same thing for Jean. Jean once said that she didn't consider me a threat. I honestly couldn't care less. That's her mistake then. But somehow, despite all the time that I have intentionally spent alone, isolated from other people, so I don't have to exist in this perpetual state of being offended, which is working out really well for me, by the way. I care a great deal about what you think about me, Eli, and it's very strange. It's not a feeling that I've ever really had to deal with before. Some of the things you've said and some of the things you've done have angered me, upset me, but I trust you as well. And I know that even if sometimes I feel like you may not listen to me, or sometimes that you may do things without thinking, I know that you do have my best interests and this group's best interests in heart, which is why this is very odd, this thing that we do, because I seem to be the one giving you gifts all the time, and you haven't given me anything. But that's all right. That's all right. We can buck traditional courting rules here. We're not in Faerun, I suppose. And she actually reaches into her bag and she pulls out the folded silk cloth that has the sun sword inside it, and she places it on the log next to you, and she says, "That is the sun sword. That is what we came to Vallaki for. And I think, especially with this rediscovered faith that you have found, I can think of no better person to wield this weapon. Also, I probably look a little weird wielding a sword, more of a knife person, I suppose."
I imagine Eli sort of sits up to better see this thing in the firelight. And after you say this, just sort of looking at it for a minute, and then kind of looks at it, turns sideways a bit, then looks over at you and says, Where's his sword bit? That's just a handle.
So you were there when the vixen did this.
Oh, was I?
I think so. You're fine. You have to unsheath it, though I would not recommend doing that because it is a blade of blinding light, effectively. So don't do that here. But it is clearly very powerful magic. I mean, you saw it like I did. It felt like for the first time in however long we've been here, we were seeing the sun again. So, it felt appropriate for you to wield it. I'm not going to say anything corny like you're the son of my life or anything, because that's way too much. But this is for the group.
All right. And I think you've just sort of hit this one of those rare times where you've sort of left Eli speechless.
I'm getting so good at just rendering you completely incapable of speech. It's perfect.
All right. Well, I reach over and I pick up this sword and wrap it carefully in the cloth and kind of look around. Well, we need to make the most of this rest if we're gonna take Strahd up on this invitation, which seems we don't really have a choice. And why don't you go ahead and get some rest? I'll take first watch and spend some time with this thing and see if I can figure out its nature and if it's willing to let me understand it.
I imagine that you will understand each other perfectly well. It's a sword, Eli. And then Fel will sort of get up, and then she'll stop, kind of lean over, and then she'll just embrace you quickly for a moment and kind of kiss you on the cheek, and then she will walk off somewhere, unroll her bedroll, and go to sleep.
And I would spend a couple hours. I would spend 2 hours on watch, spending an hour with the Sun Sword to learn about it, and I'm assuming it needs attunement.
It does.
And then after that first hour, I would glance over and make sure that Fel was asleep. And then I would reach over in the shadow just around from the fire where my rucksack that's actually a wooden chest is, and I would pull out a set of tinker's tools and some odd bits of material, a little bit of leftover silver from when we silvered everything, and begin working on fashioning something small, shaping a piece of metal into a disc about an inch or two in diameter, and just spend that hour just doing a little bit of quiet tinkering, working on something.
As you do so, and the rest, I assume, are having a deserved rest, Eli, you begin to hear a voice. Hello? Where am I? It's so dark. And if you were to look around, you would see no one else seems to hear this. Everyone else is fast asleep. You even see the shapes of the wolves kind of laid down, still watching, but quieter. And you realize that the voice is coming from the sword.
imagine it's still sitting on a log in front of me. After I'd sort of attuned to it, I had just kept it in sight, not quite wanting to, not really sure where to put it, like on my person or anything like that. And so hearing this, I would kind of look around and lean in really close to it. Hello?
Who is that? Who's there? It is a young male's voice that you hear. Young is in like young adult, not like a
Right.
not a child.
Huh. Name's Eli Lancaster. Who are you?
I am Sergei von Zorovich of the von Zorovich, and I demand to know what I'm doing here. Why is it so dark?
Do I know anything about Sergei? Have we heard about Sergei?
You have not. You have heard nothing about Sergei.
Didn't Madame Ava mention something? I could be wrong, but did she mention Sergei? I could be wrong, though. I'm not 100% sure. In fact, you know what? I don't think she did. Never mind. Ignore me.
I don't think so. I don't think Sergei has been mentioned by name at all.
You... Wait a minute. Did you say Sergei von Zarovich?
Yes.
As in Strahd von Zarovich.
Then you know him. He is my brother. He will come for me soon. If you do not tell me what is going on.
All right, so you're going to have to bear with me for just one quick moment. I'm going to ask you what sounds like a dumb question. But for my own sanity, I need you to answer this before I say anything further. Are you this sword?
You hear like silence, and then I don't know where I am. I don't know. I don't feel. I can't feel my body.
I take the small hammer that I have in my tinker's kit that was nearby, and I just real lightly on the pommel. Tink, tink.
You
Do
hear
that?
You hear. That is so loud. What?
I just sigh. I look around. Sure. All right. Yep. That seems about right. So,
Eli, please. I don't know who you are, but I don't want you to incur the wrath of my brother. Please, whatever you want, whatever you need, we'll pay it.
oh boy. So, it might be a little too late to avoid that incurring the wrath bit. I'm going to tell you what happened. Now, that'll take too long. Let me sum up. And I'm just going to give them the finer points of what's been going on. Yeah, basically as if I'm recounting the tale around. Well, I am recounting the tale around the campfire for somebody, but doing so in hushed tones and and then sort of finishing up with, and that after Fell gave me the sword and went to sleep, that was around the time you started talking to me. And that's where we're at now.
There is silence for a very, very long time. It might even get to the point where if you don't say anything, you might even wonder if you had even had this conversation at all. But eventually you hear Sergei's voice. So I guess that means I'm dead.
Well, yeah, that seems about right. Can you see anything? Can you see me?
It was all dark when I first tried to see it, but I think I can see some shadows. Nothing definite, though.
All right, I'm going to do something here. And I'm going to look around again and make sure everybody's asleep. I'm going to take the hilt of the sun sword in my hand and I am going to... How does this thing work again? Do I have to like say a command word, or is it like...
It
does
is.
it have a scabbard?
Yes, it does. You could just use a bonus action.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a log, a particularly dry log, and I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to push it into the fire, sort of stirring up the coals and the embers and everything, and causing the fire to just wait a moment as, you know, the log catches and the fire flares brighter. And in that, standing close to the fire, I'm going to pull the sunblade and ignite it. My intent is that to any surrounding eyes, that it will appear to blend with the firelight, and hopefully my companions, well, I guess it won't matter if they notice, but and my intent is to see if this lets Sergei the Sun Sword see his surroundings. Was it an unintentional? I did not go into that intending to make that work, but
That was still great. Yeah, as you do so, you hear the sound of astonishment come from Sergei. We're by Lake Zarovich. And there's a campfire, and I know exactly where we are. I can see.
Well, this is, I think this is the beginning of a very interesting partnership. And as that initial surge of the log catching fire starts to die down, I'm going to quietly sheath the sword.
So what is
still
your...
see?
It's blurry again, but not as before. I think it's getting better.
All right.
So what are your plans now?
Well, Strahd wants us to go visit him, and after sending his wolves and kind of keeping us from traveling further away, I don't think we have any choice but to heed his invitation and go meet him face to face.
If I know my brother, I know that He is not the most patient man.
Well, our plan is to rest up here, get our strength back, and first light, head for the castle.
You will talk to him, right?
Well, that's the plan.
I am not... I know that my brother has not always been... Well, not ever, maybe, been... I don't know. All these... I don't know. I'm getting very tired. All these thoughts, they're so fuzzy. I can't seem to remember. I think I need to rest for a bit. This has all been a lot. I just speak with him. Speak with my brother before you do anything. And you hear silence.
I imagine at this point the weariness of the day, the effort of staying up an extra couple hours, the cold water on the muscles after cleaning up and everything. It's just that suddenly realizing how tired I am, and I would actually go over to look around at everybody, and I would go wake Corla. Hey, you need to take a couple hours on watch.
Corla's in a trance, actually, at this point. I don't know if...
Eli, I need you for me, please, to make a saving throw that I will tell you what it is in one moment. You will have to make for me
I'm looking at my numbers and I know what I want it to be, but it probably won't be.
Make for me a Constitution saving throw, please.
It's a natural 20. So it's a 25.
You do feel quite tired as you are unable to wake Corla.
All right, well then I guess I'll go wake Vel.
What? Oh, hey. Oh, watch. Right.
Yeah, I know you only got a couple hours, but
You're fine. You need to sleep too.
I'm beat.
I
Remind
bet.
me
Mm-hmm.
in the morning
Mm-hmm.
to tell you what the sword and I talked about. And I'm already sort of curling up next to my pack, and
I imagine Fel just sort of blinks for a few moments, shakes her head, and I imagine she kind of like maybe has like a small blanket with her bedroll, and she'll just kind of like tuck it around Eli and be like, "Poor dwarf is losing his mind." And then she's gonna go over to the log and just kind of sit down, kind of looking out over the lake, occasionally looking back to where the wolves are.
I need you for me to make a Constitution saving throw.
Strong con saves. That is a 22.
The fire dances before you, almost in a mesmerizing fashion. And in front of you, you see a figure standing at the other side of the lake. The figure is absolutely breathtaking. And as they begin to walk across the water, their footsteps barely touching the water, sending very small droplets, as though you recognize the blonde hair, the elven ears of Elwyn as they glide across. They stop just beyond the firelight of the warmth. And you can see for a moment they look behind you to the wolves and look back. I see that Strahd has been keeping an eye on you.
It would seem so. How have you been? The last time we saw you, your demiplane was collapsing. Glad to see you aren't dead.
No. Strahd finds where I've been casting them, and he seeks to destroy and dismantle them, and it takes a lot of energy from me. And I must build up my strength before I can make the next. Just to make sure we are safe when we talk.
I would honestly like that very much. I wasn't entirely sure how to contact you again. I know you said look for the sign of the golden wolf, but cryptic as everything seems to be around here. Again, if you please sit down. I don't know if you can really benefit from the warmth of a fire, but
yeah,
pretty to look at, I guess.
He would nod and he would approach closer at your welcome and would sit at the fire.
So listen, and she'll lean forward a bit. You are obviously a very powerful spellcaster. I mean, you'd have to be blind not to see it. I was wondering, and again, I'm more than happy to help you in whatever way I can. Honestly, we could use any allies that we can find in this place. Maybe you could help me learn a bit more about these gifts that I've acquired in crossing from Faerun to Barovia. When you're stronger, obviously, like you said, being able to talk safely in a demiplane you created is more important, but it's something I've been meaning to talk to you about because clearly, you're more powerful than any magi I've read about in a book or a crumbling tablet of clay or stone. If that's something you might be willing to do.
Elwyn nods. When you find me, I will teach you.
Thank you. How will we find you, or will you just come to us like you did tonight?
I cannot come to you like this many times more. My power is fading. That is why I came. Something is happening. I'm not as strong as I once was. And the land is losing its grip.
Do you think it has something to do with those, what did you call them, like chaos, these primordial forces you mentioned the last time we spoke?
Perhaps. Perhaps it is Strahd's doing. Perhaps the Raven Queen. It could be any of the players we have in this chess game.
Would you, if we can help you get out, because I'm assuming that's what you want, correct? To leave?
Elwyn nods.
If we help you leave, would you be willing to, I guess, help us in this game of chess? Besides just teaching me magic, we will assist you in whatever way we can, potentially. It's just... She kind of glances over to where Jean is. We, like I said, we don't have a whole lot of allies, and you are clearly knowledgeable. If you are willing to cooperate with us, we'd be dumb to turn away your help.
Even if I'm a vampire?
To be honest, Elwyn, you've never hidden that from us. You've been honest about it. That is more than I can say for some. And if you are coming here to warn us again a second time, what benefit do you gain from telling us what's going on? You really don't gain anything. This is all to our benefit. So if we can help you in return, a good deed, a good turn deserves a good turn. Right?
He nods. Did I ever tell you how I came here? How I became trapped?
I don't believe so. We didn't have a whole lot of time to talk last time, and if you need to go now to recover your strength, that's fine, but I wouldn't mind hearing that story.
We have a few moments, and I think it's important.
Understood.
There was someone who I met, who I loved very, very much. But they were stuck, as if a part of them was somewhere else, stuck, trapped. I never got their whole person. There was always a part of them. They didn't seem whole. But I loved the part of them that they did have, that they showed to me. And when they got sick, I offered to turn them, to be what I was, to live forever, to become immortal and to be happy with me. But they said no. They declined again and again as their health faded right before my eyes. Do you know how helpless you are? You feel when the person who is closest to you, you know you can save them, but you just can't. They won't let you save them. I came to find that the reason that a part of them was missing was because it was trapped here. They had left a piece of themselves behind. I'd never heard of this place, Barovia. Before they died, they had told me that somebody named Strahd von Zarovich had taken a part of their soul. That it was his. He owned it. And they got away with whatever fragment they had. And when they died, I became enraged at this Strahd. I vowed to end him, and I went looking. And of course, as you can see, I found him. I tried to befriend him. I thought I was stronger than him, and I was when I first came. I am centuries older than Strahd. But the land it took from me, I realized that Strahd was not the only evil here. He was just its caretaker, if not its prisoner himself. My anger has now left me. Your question before, why am I helping to, or if I want to get out, I do not. I do not want to leave. There is nothing left for me. I owe it to them to see this through, to make sure that whatever this thing is, whatever Strahd has become, is no longer a threat or can no longer be used. I am someone with no ambition, and perhaps that is why you trust me.
I mean, to be fair, most, if not, well, not all, but most of the people we have met here, it's not even that they're ambitious. It's as if betrayal and violence are the only things they understand. The duplicity and lies, they seem as easy as breathing to some of these people. And I understand this is not a easy land to live in, but I have to believe, like you said, if you choose to stay here, if you choose not to go, that is your choice to make. We all have a choice that we can make. We can either be assholes or we can try to be decent people. And it's not easy, you know, and I am, for what it's worth, I am sorry to hear that you lost this person. I mean, I can't even imagine what that could possibly be like. I'm not going to lie to you. And you may lack ambition, sure, but the fact that you are still willing to lend aid, that has to count for something. That's more than most people here would do, to be totally honest.
To be honest, my intentions at first were not as genuine. And he looks over to Corla. This place has a twisted way of making you see ghosts again and again.
I have a question, and it might seem a little odd, but we first found a way to you down in the Valakovich family crypts, and on our way down we saw a very large portrait of someone that looked a lot like Corla, a full-blooded wood elf dressed in finery with an unusual hairstyle, maybe an older hairstyle. Have you seen that portrait, perchance?
I painted that portrait long ago. And you can see that there are tears in Elwyn's eyes as he speaks. The tears are this ethereal light.
Yeah, Fel will actually kind of get off the log and just kind of sit a little bit closer to him, maybe only like 5 paces or so between the two of them. Right. So do you think this is, again, these same powers that are that have effectively made Strahd both jailer and prisoner in this place? Do you think this is their doing, that they have brought Corla here potentially, and she just so happens to look like this person you painted? Is she, and she pauses for a moment, does she look like this person that you lost?
The resemblance is uncanny at times.
Gotcha.
Though I know it is not them.
Right. Can I just make an insight check to see if he's like just saying that because that's what he knows Phil might want to hear, or if he's
Yep.
actually being like, "Yeah, I'm over it. It's fine. Don't worry."
Yeah.
On beyond. That is a whopping 12.
As far wait, let me yeah, as far as as far as you can tell, he's being as genuine as possible, though you can still see that he has a lot of pain behind his words.
Makes sense. I'm glad that you understand that although she may look like this person, that she isn't, because Corla is her own individual, you know, and I don't know her as well as maybe Jean does, but I mean, if you wanted to speak with her, provided you don't try and, you know, I mean, she's not going to have any idea what you're talking about, I imagine, but if you wanted to speak with her, I don't think that would be a terrible thing. You know, I know you said you can't appear this way to us very often, but maybe one of those times you could just talk. We'll give you space. I imagine it's going to be quite a shock, so it'd probably be good for us to be within, you know, aiding distance, so to speak. She doesn't seem like the kind of person to faint, but, you know, this is a lot. This is a lot.
He kind of shakes his head a little bit at that. You are all going through so much.
Yeah.
I do not want to add any confusion. And like I said, I know that it is not them. That it is a trick, coincidence. I am not sure. Perhaps it is what you like to call destiny, to encourage my help.
I mean, if that's what you think is best, just what I don't want is for, at a crucial moment, you are suddenly overcome by how much you miss this person. Because like you said, it's been centuries. And again, I can't imagine what that could possibly be like, but it is an option. And I imagine just talking to her, while it may confuse her and alarm her to a certain extent, as long as you aren't trying to do anything else, just talking to her, it might help. Give you some closure, maybe, even though it is not her.
Perhaps when you all meet me in person. But now I must go.
Right. Thank you, Elowen.
He nods. Would you do me one thing? You never got to describe the sun for me.
Oh, wow. She thinks about it for a moment, looking into the embers of the campfire. I remember once, actually, when I was relatively young. I'm not especially old, but younger. I went with my father, Duke Ulster of Daggerford. I went with him and some of his retainers to Loudwater, actually. It's this little settlement in the Delembier River Valley. Beautiful place. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I'll never forget the way the sun looked on the water of the river. It was like... She pauses and thinks about it for a moment. It was like gold, in a way. You know, this fiery, burning gold. And I think the sun was setting at the time, so there wasn't much sunlight getting into the valley, but it was beautiful. And I remember even then, when I was younger, just thinking how wonderful it would be to dive into that water, to swim around with all the fish. There are these large silver trout that live in the Delembier River, to swim like them and then to just lie on the sand. It was beautiful, you know? There's not a lot of beautiful things here, but I don't know if that helped, but maybe.
You see Elwyn staring out into the lake. His back is towards you. You can see that he hangs his head It helped me remember. And he disappears into starlight that dances along the water before disappearing.
And I think Fel watches the starlight dance for a few moments, her eyes filling with tears, and then she wipes the tears away and goes back to the log to continue her watch. Probably for the first time in a little while, intentionally allowing her thoughts to drift back to home, and how much, although things were not great for her in Daggerford, how much she misses that life and being around people that they may have varying opinions of her, but at least it was familiar. It was home. And she would eventually probably wake up either Corla or Sean, probably Corla for the next watch.
I need you, Fel, for me to make one more Constitution saving throw, please.
Well, that's not nearly as good, but it's still a 15.
Your attention is moved for just a moment. Jean, you open your eyes and you are sitting at a very familiar table where there lies a chessboard. And sitting opposite to you is Strahd, looking thoughtfully at the pieces laid out. And what do you think my next move will be? He says after a while.
Almost like playfully, it comes out. We'll have to see your move if you make now first.
Not letting anything pass, or not giving anything away. And he moves the rook. Gesturing to you that it is your turn.
She looks at the chessboard. She feels some kind of smooth stone in her hand. She realizes that she's already holding a piece in her fingers. She looks to the board, and she realizes that it was the piece that the rook had just taken. She tries to reconcile this with this little lapse of memory, placing the piece down on the board, on the side of the board, away from the actual play area. Her eyes dart to that piece. It's the bishop that was taken. She tries to remember where that bishop was, but she can't. But she sees a knight that is open, a knight that she had been setting up to take for a few turns now. It seems Strahd had opened himself a weakness. And with her own knight, she moves it forward and takes it. She looks up at Strahd, but can't seem to make eye contact with him. It's your turn now.
How do you think dinner is going to go? He says thoughtfully as he's looking at the chessboard. He straightens one of his pieces.
Dinner? We haven't had dinner in a long time.
You're right. We haven't. Perhaps it is time. Perhaps it is time for a feast, then. As he moves his knight, almost mirroring yours.
And a look of fear catches her, almost like gets her, when sees that movement happen. It jeopardizes one of her valuable pieces in this game. But she sees a lowly pawn waiting there to take the knight. She looks up at Strahd, back to the piece, wondering if he saw it too. She wonders if this is a trap. She tries to figure out why he exposed this knight in this way. The second knight of the game, the last of his knights. I can't remember our last feast. I don't think we've had one, have we?
No, I don't believe we have.
Yes. I don't hunger. Why don't I hunger if we've had no feast?
I think you're lying to yourself, Jean. I think you do hunger.
Perhaps not. Perhaps all I need to do is take a final vital piece from you as she slides that pawn over to capture the knight.
You see this toothy grin come across Strahd's face. And you know within that moment that is exactly the move you wanted him to do, or he wanted you to do. As he slides his, oh no, I lost the name of the piece that goes diagonally.
Bishop.
The bishop?
Bishop.
As he slides his bishop across, taking your knight. As your vision blurs back into dreamless sleep, you hear the word check.
And her last vision snaps to that chessboard. It seems fixating. And that bishop movement, it put her in check, yes. But it gave her a path. It gave her a path to his own king, if she's able to deal with this check first.
Corla, you're in your trance. And though you are semi-conscious, you still have a vision before you. You find yourself laying down on a cold slab. You look up and you see the familiar and terrifying carvings of the table that you were on for when you were given up in the death house. There was no one, however, there was nobody above you. You are not restrained in any way. You just open your eyes and there you are, laying upon this altar.
I would sit up and look around the room.
You see the same place. You recognize the place, the basement, though it is not covered in water or in bones. It looks as what it should have. You see a carpet leading from the altar down the dais on the other side of the room to the other door.
No. And she'd get up off of the altar, and I think, like, almost cautiously, like, terrified to step forward, she would, though, going along the carpet towards the door.
As you do so, you see in front of you hooded figures begin to approach from the doorway. They are holding incense. They are chanting. And one of them looks to you. Are you ready, priestess?
At that, Corla would look around behind her to see who they were talking to.
As you look around, you suddenly notice, as in dreams, when you... It is as if you were wearing these the entire time. You wear the same crimson robes as the hooded figures who now walk down the path, and the figure who now stands in front of you, asking you this question.
Yes, I am ready.
You let them pass, and they have a person on a wooden palanquin, and they carefully lift this wrapped body onto the altar, and they begin chanting around the altar, looking to you expectantly. You look down at your hand. There's a beautifully jewel-encrusted knife that you have in your hands.
And I walk towards the altar where they've placed the body, the person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening to the chanting, and my eyes close as their voices get louder and louder. And as it reaches a crescendo, I falter for a second. And then I see my hands reach out and grab this person that's on the altar. And I slice their arm, and then the next arm. And I step back for a second and let the hooded figures close. And I think at each hooded figure goes to each arm, and they hold out a bowl. And as the blood trickles down from the arms, it lands into and splashes into these bowls that they're holding. Meanwhile, the rest are chanting more and louder. And I approach the head of the figure on the altar. And who do I see? And I see this in her eyes, and I reach out and I touch her hair. It is time. It is time for you to go into the next one. Be calm. And with that, she'd lean down and kiss this woman as she draws the knife across her throat.
As you do so, the chanting stops. And you see the hooded figures approach you. They gather around you. And they say, "Welcome, sister." And you see in front of you emblazoned a sigil before you wake from this trance. And it is a sigil that you have not seen before. And as you wake to morning, and you see the others. And that is where we're going to end our session.
Talk about lore drops. You get a lore drop. You get a lore drop.
Everybody gets a lore drop.
So much lore. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this session, and thank you to my players. And I am very excited to see what you guys will do next and where you will go, and nothing will go wrong ever. So, thank you, everyone, again, for watching, and who is watching now, and will watch, and we will see you again on the 4th of August. With that, have a good night, everyone.